I just realized I'm totally not on Wi-Fi. Okay, hi everybody. Hello, hello.
Hi, Sassy!
I am like so excited. Instagram has been like so finicky like all week. And I'm like, oh gosh, not like the last event, a Friday night. It's not gonna work. I'm gonna be like so upset if it doesn't work.
Well,
So
I'm glad it's working.
me too. Oh my gosh, it's like totally made my day. Totally made my day. I love it. I love it. I love it. Hello, hello. How
Hi,
are you?
I'm doing good. I just kind of want to give a disclaimer really quickly.
Sure.
My dogs will probably be barking at some point throughout the live.
That's fine.
Because if somebody
I
walks
got
by,
you upstairs.
okay.
That's fine.
I just know he can be a little loud. If somebody walks by, he thinks he's the man of the house, so he has to let them know who's boss. So,
Of course. Of course. Yeah, mine usually do too. Well, we took one of them on two walks today, and the other one we just took for a walk with both of them on another trail. So I'm hoping they'll be like mellowed
yeah,
out. So,
too pooped. Yeah,
and the fact that they're upstairs, they won't hear your dogs barking here. So,
good, because that could start a whole thing.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So, hello, and you're in Nebraska, right?
Yes, I'm in Omaha, Nebraska. Yay.
Okay. Okay. We got out there, we got the East Coast. It's all working except today. You think that we were in the Midwest or something because our temperatures went from 80 degrees earlier in the week, and now it's like low 60s, upper 50s right now. So,
Really? It's like 81 degrees here. It's so, yeah, it's hot. And I've been in the house all day. So I'm like, I hope the weather continues to stay this great throughout the weekend. But it's really hot here. So
okay, well, that's what we had earlier in the week. So, all right, I'm gonna like channel that warmth in for this conversation because
okay.
I am like totally feeling it. So I am so excited and honored that to have Donsurae Byrd of Naturally Unashamed. So if you're not already following her, you got to follow her. And also check out her YouTube channel and all the things.
Thank
She's
you.
on all the social medias. Yep. And so I originally, we'll do like a little bio in just a second, but I originally came across you because of the Childless Collective Summit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was you were on the third day of the summit or the fourth day, whatever the last day was.
Yep.
And I missed that session, but I had read your like information and I was like, I gotta meet her. And so right away, I became like that stalker person. Not really, but like I
I know
checked you
what
out on
you mean.
Instagram. I went to your link tree and I was like, okay, checking out like all the things. And I was like, oh, we need to meet. We need to meet. And so I think that what you're doing with providing like so much positivity to this experience, this journey tends to be like a weird word for a lot of people. So
Mm-hmm.
this adventure, I guess maybe to say, of trying to conceive and then making that the decision to be childless not by choice and by circumstance. And I think that this year, I guess really in the last few months, there's been such an uptick in this conversation
Absolutely.
within the TCC community of normalizing the
Mm-hmm.
topic of conversation. And I really, when I was planning this month's series of events, I was like, this has to be incorporated in it. And the fact of like it worked out to be the last event for this month, I'm actually pretty excited about it because I'm not saying that it's like, oh, well, we're just throwing it in at the end of the month. I think
Right.
it's a valid conversation that
Absolutely.
it's just the beginning, it's not the end.
Right.
So,
Right.
so I think that that's like a really big deal. And I think for people to understand that not everybody does get to have a baby at the end of the experience, the adventure, the roller coaster of trying to conceive. And I think that there is a lot of life after trying to conceive.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and we've been seeing a number of people that are, I wouldn't necessarily say influencers because that's such a weird word to say, but
Right.
people who have had such a vibrant presence during their journey that
Hmm.
now they have made the announcement that their last cycle, they're like, okay, we are done.
Yeah.
And what a powerful statement to be sharing that with other people. And then also saying, I know I've been in your shoes, we did this,
Yep.
and now I'm choosing to do something else.
Yeah.
And it was it was either in one of your blog posts or your YouTube videos. Oh man, I quoted it and then I was like, I'm not gonna forget it, and then now I like forgot it. Um, you're making a life for yourself.
Yeah. Creating a life that I love. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Yeah.
it. That's it. So why don't can you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know on your blog, at the time, the last post, you weren't quite ready to share your full story. So I only want you to share what you feel comfortable sharing,
Yeah.
but so that people can kind of get an idea of where you were, where you are now.
Yeah. Sure. First of all, my eyes are watering. So if I keep dabbing, my mascara is like acting really crazy. So just know that my eyes are watering. I'm not crying. They're just watering.
Okay.
Okay.
If you were,
This is
that's
always such a
totally
weird
okay
question
too.
to answer because I feel like I'm just like a regular, like, I don't know what to say kind of person.
Yeah.
But I guess I'll just say that I actually have opened up about my story on the Childless Collective Summit. My session, I just told everybody because I felt like it was such a safe space to do so.
Sure.
And that was really like the first time that I'd ever opened up about it. But just a little backstory. My husband and I have been married. It'll be 12 years in June. When we first got married, we suffered a loss of a pregnancy. So I basically have an incompetent cervix. And so I didn't know it. It's one of those things where you don't know until it happens. And so unfortunately, I lost that baby. The baby was like 5 months along. And that was obviously a horrible experience. And then a couple of months later, we got pregnant again. And the same thing happened, except I had asked my doctor to stitch me, do the cerclage early
Mhm.
because I had done some research this time. I was ready to go. I had asked him to stitch me early just so that, I could be prepared and wouldn't have to experience another loss. And he decided that it would be in our best interest to wait because that's what he had done with other patients. And they were successful, but that wasn't the case for me. So unfortunately, I lost my second son after 5 months, and I had to deliver them. So going through the whole labor and delivery process. So that was really hard on me. And I was 19 at the time. And then my husband and I, we took some time away from trying to conceive for like maybe like a year because we were going through a lot as far as our pregnancies are concerned, and we didn't want to experience that again. And then we thought, well, this is the prime time to live our lives. We're young, we just got married, let's enjoy getting being married and that experience. And then the itch, the desire, the longing for a family and what I had lost was there, and it was so strong. So was ready to jump back in, and we stopped using any type of contraceptive or anything like that, and years went by and I just was not getting pregnant. And it was a horrible experience just because I was so desperate for a family and desperate to get those babies back that I had lost. And I was taking pregnancy test after pregnancy test only to see the negative, and you know how hard that can be. And so then a couple of years later in 2015, I got pregnant again because my doctor put me on some birth control because my periods were super irregular. And so he said, we're going to jumpstart your cycle all over again. Let's get you to take 4 birth control pills a day. And I'm like, okay. So that's what I did. And then I got pregnant. And that time we were so excited. We just knew that that was it. I've been praying for years for God to bless me with a pregnancy and to carry full term. And so this time I got a high risk doctor, and I knew that, because I had a high risk doctor, they would know what they were doing and everything was going to go fine. And I knew I was going to get the cerclage as soon as possible. And for the most part, my doctors were well, not even for the most part, they just were great. My doctor listened to me. He took my history into account, and he did do the cerclage as soon as possible.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I got an infection from the cerclage, and I went into preterm labor, and I lost my third son. Around, he was about like almost 6 months at that point. And so after that time, I swore, like, I don't ever want to do this again. Like this, I was 25 at that time. It was horrible. And a lot of things that I haven't even talked about, as far as like, you know, when people know that you're pregnant and you celebrated that with people and you're expecting to have like a baby shower and you're talking about all these plans, and then to have to go back and tell people like, oops, you know, like,
Yeah.
people are like, I'm so sorry, and they're pitying you. And then people who don't even know you, or don't know you personally, so they don't know what you went through, they come up to you and be like, oh, I heard you were pregnant, how's that going? And then you have to explain. And so it was just really hard on me.
Yeah.
I went into a depression. Like, I spiraled even further down into a depression. I was already depressed, and I was just miserable. And so that's kind of like where we are now, I guess, in a nutshell. We haven't gotten pregnant since. We haven't tried to not get pregnant. It's just we're having a hard time getting pregnant. And so I've never had a doctor actually tell me like, you cannot get pregnant. But it just has not been happening for us. And so as much as I wanted to have a family, and as much as I longed and craved for those babies, I'm terrified of even getting pregnant ever again, because I don't ever want to experience what I went through. And so I remember saying, like, I never want to do this again. And I was just tired of like just being sad and depressed and grieving and putting my life on hold for a child that may never come.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I do love that you quote your husband that you are a family.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something that my husband reminds me of often, that, you know, like, we're already a family. Like, we've got 2 dogs and all these chickens and like
I
all
love
these
the
things, but
chickens.
yeah, we're already, you know, a unit.
Yeah.
And every time he reminds me of that, I'm like, why are you so smart? Like, I don't get it. Like, can you
It
stop
took me,
reminding me of that?
yes, it took me years. He has said that from, I mean, since we lost our first child, he would say that, like, we're a family, you're my family. And I would always like argue him down, like, we are not a family. Like, a family, you know, is parents with children. We do not have children. We are not a family. And it took me years. Like, I would say it took me up until like last year to receive his words and say, you know what, we are a family. We are complete just with the 2 of us and our dogs.
Yeah, and that's a weird concept to like process, right?
Oh,
Oh, I see there's one. Oh.
look at him. He still has his little harness on. And there's another one too. They went out to potty, so I need to take their harness off.
Oh.
But yeah, so I'm sorry.
No,
That's
and
Baxter.
for me, I love it. I love it. They're so sweet.
Yeah,
Well,
I have
I'm
tiny
sitting there
dogs.
on here, but yeah. Oh. Well, it's sweet that somebody said that. I'm guessing your husband is Richard.
Yes, that's my
Yeah.
mom saying Richardson.
Aww.
Hi, Mom.
Gotta have that love. Aw. Well, I think that, you know, for those that have partners and are trying to navigate this family growing shindig, you know, this thing, it's definitely when they are empathetic and truly in it with you,
Yeah.
that can make such a big difference. I mean, it doesn't fix anything,
Right.
but it definitely helps to kind of be able to tough it with someone else and to process it with someone else and to know that like you're really not alone. Like, even though there's this whole virtual community, right? Like
Right.
globally, it's still kind of nice to know that someone under your roof is like in it with you and they're watching and they're feeling it and all of that. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
a lot of times, you know, I felt like he had to be strong for me, and he had to like carry me through the years because I was such a complete mess. And so I am grateful, and I do know that not everybody has that. And so, but I do know how much of a blessing it is when you do have someone to kind of navigate that journey and that space with you.
Mhm.
Because if I was alone, I don't know I don't know where I would be right now. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So you have taken your experiences and you have truly like transformed your word, your purpose is really uplifting. I love watching all of the episodes on your YouTube channel.
Oh, thank
Like, I
you.
hope you have more coming because I'm like really, I'm like, ooh.
Oh, thank you so much. So okay, I'm gonna say two things really quickly. So the first thing about my YouTube channel, I do want to produce more content, but I'm one of those people that I not like really creative. Like I have pockets or moments of inspiration, but it has to come to me. I
Yeah.
can't like some people can just sit down and they can just produce. I'm one of those people that it literally has to come to me. I can't just sit down and just go. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely. And you want to be able to like plan it out too so that you're a little bit more, it's structured without being too structured, but you
yeah.
want to feel it.
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
want to be authentic. I never want to just put stuff out there just to put it out there. I want to be
Yeah.
intentional and authentic. I'm one of those people that if I don't have anything to say, then I'm just not going to say it.
You have to
I
say
mean,
it. Yeah.
as it relates to putting out content, but if it's related to talking, I'm going to talk. But
Well, the reason I bring that up is because I find that like even reading the comments of the videos, I'm that person. Like I want to know what people are
me
saying.
too, me too.
Yeah. Right. And so you just so far, like with what you have out, like really resonated because it gave people, it's giving people something to connect with and it's giving them a little bit of a boost in life in feeling the love. And I think that was probably, that came out, I mean, from your intro video all the way through is just that you want people to feel it
Yeah,
and you want them to kind of own that love too.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like my purpose, because you talked about purpose. Um, I feel like my purpose in life is related to or connected to like inspiring people to just live a life that they love. Like I've always been really good at encouraging people, motivating people, like picking people up out of the pit of despair. I always say like I'm just really good at like seeing the good, the potential, the best in people and helping them to see that. And so I do like to spread the love. I do like to be encouraging. And I feel like that's a part of my passion. And that's the reason why I started speaking out about my journey because, like I said, I've never opened up about this. Like, people that are close to me don't even know all the details. And I would never talk about it with anyone, not even my husband, really, as I was going through the struggles of the journey or whatever we want to call it. But I just kept feeling like if I speak out, then somebody will know that they're not alone. And that was always my thing because I felt so alone and I felt like nobody could relate to me. And also I felt like I couldn't really connect with or relate to people who was still trying and was still like, wanting to pursue parenthood because I felt like I had put my life on hold for so long. Like I looked up on my 30th birthday and I'm like, I have nothing to show for my life. I didn't travel as much as I could have. I didn't, spend time with people that I love as much as I should have. Like I just had nothing to show for it. But negative pregnancy tests, depression, weight gain, all those negative things. And so I've just been like on this adventure of trying to live and create a life that I love and to be happy and to reclaim my time. If you watch my
Yeah.
YouTube video, you know that I said I'm reclaiming my time.
And I think that that's kind of, I mean, you go through this grief process, right? Of like, once you realize like that that's not something that you want to actively pursue,
Yeah.
and then figuring out, well, what does this look like? So let's talk about how do you know when? How did you and your husband, unless you were like, okay, we're not doing this again, and he was like, okay, whatever you want. But like, how did you get to that point? Was it immediately after your last loss, or was there like this time period in between, and you were like, what now? You like kind of thing.
Yeah. So it was definitely time in between because once we experienced our loss, I would say out loud, like, I'm never doing this again. I refuse to put myself through this, but I really wanted a family. I really wanted to keep trying. Um, I really, really wanted that for myself, but the hurt, the grief, the pain, um, was just really speaking out of me at that time. But I would say last year was really when I came to the decision and talked, you know, like my husband is so go with the flow, and he's always said that whether or not we have children, he does not feel like his life is missing anything. Like he feels like it's complete. Whether we have children, he always says like, I'm enough. So I feel like he was always okay with, you know, whether I was wanting to keep going or not, because he knows like everything that I went through, it's a lot on my body. And so I just kind of, you know, just said like, I don't want to do this anymore. And we just kind of left it at that. You know what I mean? But I feel like for me, it was just like I said, like I looked up and I saw like all that I had lost to infertility and miscarriage and infant loss. And I was just so tired of putting my life on hold. And I was tired of, you know, people telling me to keep going and don't give up and have faith and keep trying, it'll happen. But I was so tired, and I felt like, how much do I have to put myself through? Like, is it really worth it? Is it really worth me to be depressed, to be miserable, to, you know, literally feel like I want to die over trying to have a child? You know what I mean? Like, at what point is enough enough? And it wasn't until I actually went to therapy and I was talking to my therapist, and she was actually the first person that I had ever talked to about my childlessness. Like, I had never talked to anybody about it and my losses. And I remember after I got off the phone with her on one of the sessions when I first opened up, my husband told me how proud of me he was, because he knows that I've never talked about it with anyone before. And he was just like, wow, you literally opened up. But it was in a conversation that I had with her that I was telling her my experiences and, you know, how I feel like I may never have a child. But everybody kept telling me that, you know, don't say that. I would say it and people would say, don't say that. That's lacking faith.
You're like, shh.
Exactly.
If
Exactly.
you
Don't
keep
put that
it,
out
it'll
there.
be, yeah.
Exactly. But I felt like that's just accepting reality. You know what I mean? That's just being real. That's a possibility. And nobody would ever let me say it. But when I said it to her, she echoed it back to me and said, you know, it is possible. And she didn't say it in a way that was like doubtful or, you know, anything like that. But she just echoed it back and said, there is a possibility that you may not have a child. And so it was kind of that conversation of what next? You know what I mean? And that's what kind of got me thinking, like, what do I want to do with my life? You know, and I had just started this adventure of quitting my job with corporate America and trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up, kind of thing. And so it was just like, now is the time for me to start focusing on my life, picking up the pieces, rediscovering my identity, and planning and creating something that I can be proud of that does not revolve around being a parent and pursuing, you know, a child or birth or whatever. You know, I really just wanted to get back my time. And so that's when I knew enough was enough. But I think it's different for everybody. I think that some people can keep going and exhaust all of their options. And I think that's perfectly fine for them. But I think when you know that it's enough for you, you'll know. And it's just a matter of knowing and remembering that you don't need anybody's permission to stop. And I made a post like that last week. It's like, you don't need anyone's permission to stop trying. If you feel like it's right for you to end that journey, then it's right. And I don't care what anybody says. Nobody can convince me at this point in time that I made the wrong decision, or that I should, you know, keep trying and never give up, because I'm at a place now finally where I am truly okay with my journey. Do I have moments where I'm like, I'll look at my nieces and be like, man, it'll be, you know, and I think about my babies. And I think it's, for me, it's more so thinking of what I lost and wishing that I could have them back, more so than trying to pursue a new journey of parenting. You know what I mean? It's just, I want my babies back. But I found that now that I've talked about them, I can memorialize them. I'm planning to visit their gravesite for the first time ever. People don't even know they have a gravesite because I've never talked about it. But I said, this Memorial Day, I told my husband, I'm like, babe, let's go visit our babies. You know, like, I'm finally just getting to a place where it's like, I love the life that I have, and it's not lacking anything with, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
perfect just the way that it is.
right. Yeah, and I think that there's this notion that like people get stuck in the hamster wheel. And it's, if they're going through fertility treatment, it's like cycle after cycle, like after cycle, it
Yeah.
almost becomes addictive
Yeah.
and you don't know when to stop. And and it's like you almost wait for someone to tell you that it is okay if you
Yeah.
want to stop. And seeking that permission is so huge. And it takes one moment to be like, if you want to stop, it really is okay. Not, the false hope narrative. And it's not
Hmm.
to say that, it's just some people thrive on that. And that's not downplaying like
Right.
any of that because that's what keeps people going no matter what the experience is. But
Hmm.
I think that for a lot of people, it's just you hit this certain spot and then you're like, is this it? Would I really be okay? Or do I need to like keep going just that one more month or, one more year of
Yeah.
whatever it may be? And that's a really hard position to be in. And I think by hearing you, and so for those that are watching this as a recap or a replay, like hopefully you hear these words that give you some comfort that like you're okay just the way that you are. And it sucks when our bodies don't work the way that they were designed to. And there's that
Absolutely.
anger and the emotions that go with it. That's grief. Grief is real. And no
Right.
one's saying that you stop grieving even once you make that decision.
Right.
Just
Exactly.
it's just you're figuring out how to grieve post and then how to, as you say, live the life you love so
Yeah.
that you are truly creating something. And it's still a creation, it's just a different opportunity of what that creation looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I still grieve my journey and the loss of my children, but I don't let it consume me. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I just
Mm-hmm.
don't let it consume me, and what I really want to inspire anybody who wants to stop trying um to know is like you can still live a life even if you don't want to stop trying, even if you want to continue to pursue parenthood. You can do that. I just don't want you to stop living. I feel like a lot of us, we put our life on hold planning for a baby and all of these things, and we look up and it's like, okay, what now? But I want you to live in the meantime. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want you to stop living
Right.
as you're pursuing whatever journey you want to pursue. And I think a lot of times when people don't want to feel like they need permission to stop trying is because we don't want to be looked at as quitters, right? There's that notion or that connotation that like, if you stop trying, then you didn't want it hard. You didn't want it bad enough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, you didn't want it bad enough. You quit. How dare you say your child is not by choice? You are, because you quit. And that's
Right.
not, and it's like,
Yeah.
that's not a thing. You know what I mean? Like, no one can tell me that I didn't want my babies, that I didn't want to be a parent. Are you kidding me? Like, I will get violent.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
kidding me? Like, that's a
Good.
slap in
Let
the
me tell
face.
you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a slap in the face. Like, how dare you? Nobody knows how badly I wanted to be a parent. It's like a death when you decide to stop that journey. Like, it's a death to your dreams, like your visions, like everything. That's a hard decision to make. And
Yeah.
so that's really what I want people to know is you don't need permission. You're not a quitter. And it's okay if you want to stop. But it's also okay if you don't want to stop. If you're not there yet, just know that there are people who are on the other side of, of that are living a happy and fulfilled life. And you, if life leads you that way, can be a part of that too.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's part of, I think what the biggest thing I took away from the Childless Collective Summit was that message.
Yep.
And that like it's okay if you're not ready to stop, but
Yeah.
just know that they're the whole community that if you decide to, we're gonna support you and we're gonna show you that you can do this and that it's not truly the end of the world and that we're gonna help you. And
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be okay. It's gonna suck, sure,
Yeah.
but it is going to be okay. And I was just so moved by that. And that even though like not all the topics were specific to living a life being childless, it was
Mm-hmm.
just about living and
Yes.
being and connecting within a body. And I think those are all messages and takeaways that are really, really important
Yeah.
and probably so needed, especially if you're in this crossroad of do I not? And am I ready? Am I not?
Right.
It's like, it's okay. It's truly okay. But just know that you're going to have community. It's
Yeah.
going to look a little different,
Yeah.
but you're still going to have community, and you're going to have people who aren't going to judge you. They're not going to blame you.
Yeah.
They're going to give you words of love and support and help to nurture whatever is next for cultivating a new path, whatever that looks like. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what I love so much about the Childless Not By Choice community is it really is a community of I've never felt more seen. Like this is a community of so many different people that come from different backgrounds, different experiences, and they just get me. I feel like nobody has ever got me before, but they give me not permission, but like they embolden me to be who I am, be authentic, and live my life and share my story, regardless of if it looks different from someone else. And what I mean by that is there are people who did not pursue IVF or any other treatment. They did not have children. They never have been pregnant, but they decided like, hey, if my body doesn't give me a baby naturally, then I'm going to be childless, not by choice, and I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who have had hysterectomies and have decided after maybe trying multiple infertility treatments, like they're done. Like there's just so many different journeys. And so I felt safe to exist in my truth, having not exhausted all those other options. And I feel like there's so much representation in the community that regardless of how you found yourself to be childless by choice, no matter what the journey looked like or that decision looked like you're welcome and people get you, and we're ready to like just love on you and let you know that it's okay. Like you're going to be okay. It's like what Jody Day said, like every single time I watched the video that we posted last week, and she says, you were born childless and worthy, and you remain childless worthy. It literally, I tingle every time because I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, my soul just, I'm like, yes, like I was born childless and worthy, and I remain childless and worthy. Like, how beautiful is that? So I love this community. I'm so grateful for it. Because I don't know that I would be where I'm at without it. You know what I mean? Like I would still kind of be in my little corner of the world, just not feeling like anybody gets me. So
Yeah. So what was can I ask, so this week we've talked in several different events, we've talked about partners in
yeah.
a few of our things. In fact, we had a partners panel in the beginning of the week, and then we had talked about PTSD and trying to conceive in the middle of the week. And then, or was that, yeah, I'm like, wait, what day of the week is it again? And then last night, we talked about partners again through the plays that were viewed,
Mm-hmm.
and because they were plays written about infertility and loss, and we found a way to intertwine the partner's perspective throughout all this. So how, of course, like clearly you've already said, your husband already declared it that you guys are already a family, but
Yeah.
how was he when you said those words that you didn't want to do it anymore? Like what was his process, if you don't mind sharing?
Well, it's kind of one of those things where I can't tell his perspective. Like he can only tell it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I can't actually answer that just because I don't feel comfortable speaking for
That's
him.
okay. That's okay.
But I
I
do know,
respect that totally.
yeah, but I do know, and I will say that when we've talked about it, he's just always been like, he's okay. Like, wherever life leads us, if I change my mind, he's always left that door open too. He's like, well, whatever you want. If you change your mind, if you decide you want to adopt, which at this point, I'm done. But he's just always like, no matter what you decide that you want to do, I'm okay. Like if I want to have children, he wants to have children. If I don't want to have children, he's like, it's okay. He doesn't care. Like literally it's one of those things where he's like, whichever way it goes, I'm there rocking and rolling with you kind of thing. But as far as like his whole process of dealing with everything, I can't speak to that.
That's totally
that's the story.
yeah. No, and that's a very personal thing too. And I totally respect it. And when we have conversations or when I've had conversations with people, it's like I don't want to it is always the partner's story to tell and however it is they want to tell it. But you answered that perfectly though. Like just that he is open-minded
He is.
to whatever may come, whatever may be. And I think that's a beautiful gift when your partner is like riding it with you
Yeah.
and it's like, let's do it. However you say, we'll do it.
Yeah,
So
I'm really grateful. I just feel blessed because I feel like if he were any other way, it would be a struggle. You know what I mean? Like if he really felt like he wanted kids and not having kids was a non-negotiable, then I feel like that would be hard on me. You know what I mean? And I never want to feel like I'm taking the option away from him. So I'm always asking him like, well, what do you want? And that's where he's just like, D, he calls me D. He's like, D, it's fine. Like I'm okay, you know? Um, and so I'm grateful for that because I do know that it would be hard if it was not that. Not that.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. Aww.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people aren't able to speak to their spouses like perspective but like, you know, my husband's an introvert. He's super quiet and I just like to protect him and so
Yeah, no, you exactly what you said is what I was hoping to hear. So
okay.
that's perfect. That's perfect. And my thought process is always, this is such an intimate topic,
It is.
and like I'm not going to share for my friends who are going through it. I'm not going to share their story or their experience. And my partner is my best friend, and so I'm not going to share his story either. And I think just to say how I felt supported is what I would share, and
Yeah.
you're sharing exactly that. And I think that is so beautiful.
Thank you.
And I think that it is also, I think a testament to the value of communication with your partner and making it clear how you're feeling
Yeah.
so that like they do have a sense of how much of a toll it's taking on you
Yeah.
and really like where the emotions are riding. And because oftentimes if we are keeping them bottled up, they really don't know. And if it's taking that big of a toll on us, we want them to be supportive of whatever decision we make. And it really is, well, this is my little high horse and our body, our choice kind of thing. But it comes to that, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
really do want our partner to be supportive of how it is that we are in that
Yeah.
moment. And not that we're looking for the validation, but it's nice when we have it to be like, okay, they get what they can to a
Yeah.
degree, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I agree with that totally. Because I did feel like I'm the one carrying the babies and you know what I mean? But at the
Yeah.
same time, like I said, I'd never want to take that option
Mhm.
away from him. So
Yeah.
I feel like if it ever come to it and he said he wants to adopt, and we've talked about that, like if he ever said he wanted to adopt, I'd be like, okay, let me pray about it. But you know what I mean? But we could work it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he's just that's why I'm so glad that he's like I'm okay. Like it's fine. We have a great life without kids and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Yeah.
yeah.
And how was your support system, your family and friends when you like was your supportive community, were they ones who were like constantly pushing it, like keep going, or were they like, okay, if this is this decision, like that's fine. Like how can we support you like on this next part of your life?
Ooh, that's a great question, Jessie. Okay, so I'll just say that my biggest supporter in my entire life is my mom. I feel like my mom is she's always just supported me in any and everything. And she never pushed me. Um, she was just always there. Like if I want to talk about it, if I didn't, if I want to stop, if I don't, like she may have her opinion. It may not, her opinion may be, well, you might get pregnant because you come from a very fertile family. You know what I mean? Like that may be how she feels on the
Right.
inside. I can't speak to that mom if that's not how you feel, but I feel like that's how my mom feels. But but she's never pushy with her opinion of what my life could be like. She just accepts it for what it is, and she just loves me through it and supports me. And I'm almost gonna start crying, but I'm not. But so my mom is my rock. Like, my mom is who I go to. Like, if somebody's picking on me, or if somebody made me mad or hurt my feelings, like, I'm going to my mom and she's going to tell me, like, you know, forget what they said. Like, you're amazing. So my mom was great, but everybody else, I think my friends were great. My friends were like, whatever you want to do, it's your life. We love you. You know, whatever feels good to you. Those are my friends. But everybody else, it's been the exact opposite. It's been the whole never give up. It's been the, you can, you know, keep praying, and I know this is going to happen for you. I have, you know, I have had to work through a lot of my emotions towards people who have hurt me throughout this journey. People who are close to me, maybe people who don't even know that they've hurt me. And I do want to say this for the record, aside from my cousin, she's like the only one I can take out of that family category. My cousin Stiana has never, I just have to say that for the replay. She's always supported me, but everybody else, they have really, it wasn't great. It just wasn't great. I felt like I was accused a lot as far as like why I lost my babies. I felt like a lot of times family, they accused me. I felt like they never let me give up. That was who I felt like I needed permission from, because they would force me to talk about it when I wasn't ready. When I would say, like, you know, I'm accepting the reality that I may never have children, it was the don't say that. So that was just a really, really hard place to be in. And I really had to work through those relationships, and forgiveness was a big thing in that space for me. Because I felt like people had the audacity to treat me horribly. And I just let them, and they broke me, and I just let them. And now I'm just to the point where I can finally stand up for myself and say, regardless of your opinion of what you think my life should be like or shouldn't be like, I'm standing in my truth. And regardless of what you want from me, because I feel like nobody wants a baby for me more than I want a baby for me.
Right.
But I feel
Yes.
like they can kind of push that on you and push their desires for you onto you, and to keep you trapped in this place of never quit, never give up. Look at so-and-so, you know, that got their rainbow baby. And so it was horrible for my mental health. And now I'm finally strong enough to say enough is enough. We'll talk about these topics when I'm ready. And if I'm not, too bad. I'm at a place where I'm not pursuing parenthood, and that's okay. I still love God. I still have faith in God. I'm still rocking and rolling with Jesus. You're not, but it's like, you're not going to put that on me. I have a family member who like literally asks me every single time we talk, like, when are you going to have a baby? When are you going to have a baby? And I had to like reason within myself, again, nobody wants a child more than me. I'm not going to allow that pressure to make me feel like I have to get pregnant or I'm going to let them down. I don't want to let myself down. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm my priority, not anyone
Yes.
else.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's often like the biggest thing, right? It's like, I'm the one, like, I'm the biggest like barrier to doing anything. And that's all that really matters. The rest of you are just the appetizers, and I'm the main dish, and the main dish is the most important part. And so that's huge. And I can hear your confidence. Like, it is like, so I'm like, oh, like, oh,
Yes, because I've gone through so much. And now when I'm thinking about this, I'm gonna have so many family members be like, not every family member.
right.
There were people that literally never said anything, they never did anything, but the people that did, they did. But it wasn't every single family member. I have aunts who never ever like hurt me or anything like that. I have cousins who never did anything, but there are a lot of people who did. And so I just wanted to put that out there in case anybody watches the replay and they try to.
And it's also like I was on one of the events that we had on Sunday. It was like, you know, it's not your job to educate. And it's like, you're right. It's not our job to educate, but sometimes I feel like we're put in situations where we have to. And you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And if we take that moment and be like, okay, well, this is why, then, I mean, I was once at a funeral for a friend and I was asked, well, don't you like kids? And I was like, yeah, I just can't get knocked up. So, yeah. And then next topic, and it was like, this is why you don't ask people.
Exactly.
Like,
and you sit with that, you sit in that space of being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Right.
Because you shouldn't have asked me that question.
Right. And it also, it's like you know that they think they're coming from good intentions. You
Hmm.
know that.
Yeah.
But it's all the more reason why it's like, well, let's tell you why that wasn't exactly the greatest thing to say.
Yeah.
And so that way you don't cause harm or hurt anybody else. And
Yeah.
that's how I view it. And that's why I talk about it. And I sometimes put people on the spot, but I don't feel sorry for it. I feel sorry that they didn't know
Yeah.
or that they didn't think that it might be a problem. But I think that sometimes it does come on us to provide an educational moment. And yes, that's labor that we don't deserve to take
Yeah.
on. But if we don't tell them, how else are they going to know? They're not going to know to go read a book or to like
Right.
check out somebody's blog.
Right.
And so, family means well,
They
but
do.
not exactly the most needed thing to be doing and saying all the time.
I
So,
agree. And I'm all about educating. That's why I repost things on my Insta stories. And I know people are probably like, oh, but a lot of people are like, I never even thought about it like that. Thank you for posting this. Because I do feel like I need to help educate people because of the place that I'm in. Now, before I would let you say whatever you wanted to say. I would let you bring up and force me to have the conversation, even if I wasn't ready, because I didn't want to be disrespectful and I was so broken. But now I'm in a place where I don't mind having that uncomfortable conversation with you and making you feel uncomfortable because you should not have asked, you should not have brought it up. But
yeah,
I want to prepare you so that you know, like, this is inappropriate.
yeah,
This is appropriate. Maybe you shouldn't say
yeah.
that. Maybe you shouldn't ask. Like, I want to kind of prepare people and gently, like, let them know, maybe you shouldn't bring this up with someone who didn't bring it up with you, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. And I am a huge advocate that if you aren't sure of how to use your own words, share somebody else who has a way of speaking for you
Yep,
and,
absolutely.
and amplifying that message.
Yeah.
And then you hope, there's that word hope, you
Right, right.
hope that they subliminally read it and then they're like, I can't believe I did that. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's like, I don't know, I live in a utopian world sometimes and I'm like, people have like that like I should have
Mm-hmm.
had a baby thing, and then like, I can't believe I did that, and I'm really sorry kind of thing, and the world is just a one happy place, right? A
Right, but that.
person live in a dream world, but
Right,
yeah,
exactly. I feel
but
like they skip over that. They tap through that one.
yeah, yeah. But this is all the more reason why having these conversations and having the hard conversations that we've been having all month long are so critical that I hope someone who is watching this will pick up, little nuggets of golden wisdom and for themselves
Yeah,
as well as for supporting somebody else who might be at that crossroad of choosing that, okay, I need to start loving the life I live and live the life I love.
yeah,
And I think that that's a double positive, I
yeah.
guess to say, if we can make that type of impact. So what would you say to someone who, um, are there any resources that you would recommend people check out if they're like, can I do this? And clearly your information is going to be listed in the notes section and everything.
Yeah.
But are there resources that you found really supportive or like encouraging as you were processing this part?
Yeah, I would say if you don't have a therapist, get one. Um,
Yeah.
that would be the number one thing I would say because it's something about talking to somebody who is completely unbiased and does not know you from Tom, that can listen to you and also provide you with resources on how to deal with grief and how to navigate different things in your life. The next thing I would say is to check out Jody Day's book, Living the Life
Yeah.
Unexpected. Like that is such an amazing resource. I would say plug into the Childless Not By Choice community. Follow Katie of Chasing Creation. There's
Yeah.
so many beautiful voices within the community. But I think that Katie has done such a great job of bringing us all together. And I think that and she was the first person I found. And then this whole thing just kind of spiraled into me being here with you. So I always say, love Katie. um, And I would say there's so many different books. I haven't read them all. But I have
Okay.
like a list of them. But I would say just plug into the Childless Not By Choice community, because they have so many resources. There's so many different people that you can follow that, like you said, can speak the words that you can't speak, or that you maybe don't even know like how to express. And
Hmm.
I just feel like plugging into a community of people who get it, even if you're not ready to make that choice, just having them there to hear their perspective and to kind of
Yeah.
see like, okay, there are people that are thriving on the other side of this. I think that that's super, super important. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much what I would say for me.
Okay. Okay. No, I love that. And I agree. I think Katie may have been the first one that I found. And then I just like started checking out like the people that she was connected to.
Exactly.
And then I was like, okay.
Yep.
And then and then when she was doing the summit, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And for those that are watching, so I am a massage therapist that specializes in reproductive health. So I support people who are trying to conceive. I support people who have had a pregnancy loss, whether it was abortion, miscarriage, or stillbirth, or infant loss. And I support people who are currently gestating and postpartum. And then my other specialty, aside from reproductive health, is oncology. And so I really do support people like the whole span of it.
Yeah.
And then I also personally deal with infertility and have had losses. And so I really have been trying to hone in on more and more resources to
Yeah.
make that accessible and available for my client. I have like a whole resource guide book, resource book that like, I'm constantly updating because I think that these are resources that people need to know about and they need to know that they actually exist. And we don't know unless somebody is talking about these resources
Absolutely.
and that, it's like, oh, somebody wrote about this. And oh, like, I mean, Jody Day is like a global movement. And
Right?
like, yeah, it's like wild. I really had no idea like how big of a thing it was until the summit. I was like, oh, oh,
I found
okay.
Jody through Katie, and then that's when I read her book, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is everything I needed." And I just think that it's just it's just so important to have representation.
Yeah,
And so I'm grateful for the representation, because it's hard navigating the journey already, but to do it alone
yeah.
is I just yeah, I think it's so important that you just stay connected with people who understand and get it. I wish
And I'm
I would
so
have came with a
grateful.
list of resources.
No,
But I would
no,
say that
no.
those were
This is,
really the
I
things.
think, having starting points are really good.
Yeah.
So this is totally fine. And you can always, if there's any extra resources that like really stand out, you can let me know. And this video will be posted to my YouTube channel
Oh
so
wow.
that it has closed caption accessibility. Because Instagram isn't cool enough yet. Yeah, Mark Zuckerberg, I've been calling you. So I want to make that accessible. So I list all the extra things in there. So if people want to find you, they can clearly find you at your handle, which is Naturally Unashamed. And
Yeah.
then where else are you? Is everything else is Naturally Unashamed as well, right? Or
Yes, I'm on YouTube, Naturally Unashamed. My website, my blog, naturallyunashamed.com. I'm on Twitter. It's Natch Unashamed, because they wouldn't let me put the whole thing. I'm on Twitter. I'm on TikTok, but I'm on TikTok as Donsurae, so it's at Donsurae. And yeah, of course, IG.
awesome. Well, I'll definitely make sure to have the link tree in the YouTube section so that people know that they can follow, like, find you in like all of those cool spaces.
Yes.
And I'm trying to think. There was like another question I have, and now I can't think about it. But I am like so grateful that we like got connected, and
Me
I'm
too.
like fangirling over here.
Stop. I am honored. Thank you so much for asking me. I was gonna say no, but I'm on this journey of like, girl, imposter syndrome is so real. But I'm like, if I can just help one person, I'm here. I'm gonna show up for that one person. I got that one person's back. So I just hope that someone heard something that resonated with them. And for that reason, I'll keep showing up anytime I'm asked. But thank you so much for asking me to come on here.
Oh, absolutely, Donsurae. I am so grateful. And if your mom is still watching, she's amazing. Moms like to hear that, right? So we gotta like give a little shout out for that. So I am so, so thankful. And again, if you are watching, check out the comments or the detail section for the YouTube link. This video will be posted within the 24 hours over on YouTube for closed captioning accessibility, and you can share the link. And if you have any questions for Donsurae, feel free to send her a DM or you can leave a comment. Have a great evening and a beautiful weekend, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.